program began in 2017, and we're so proud that this is our 22nd event. I'd like to thank several people, the Meet the Author Committee, many of you are on today, and for all the hard work that you do, getting prepared for these programs every year. I'd like to thank Pam Cardulo, our Executive Director, and our office staff. The many members of the Congregation Torah El family who attend and support these programs. Our B'nai Shalom Bethel Foundation that gives us some financial support. And this week, we have 2 synagogues that are partnering with us. We've been partnering with other synagogues across the country throughout the pandemic for many wonderful programs, including Meet the Author. One of those synagogues today is Ahavat Olam in Howell, New Jersey, and Columbia Jewish Congregation in Columbia, Maryland. So welcome to the people from those congregations who are here today. We also have a local synagogue, B'nai Israel in Rumson, and any other local synagogues that might have heard about our program that have members here today. Before I turn the program over, I would like to mention our next event, which I put the link to the registration in the chat. I'll put it in there again for those of you who joined us later. That program is going to be on March 24th at 7:30 p.m. It's a Thursday evening. And the author is Gabrielle Glazer. The book is American Baby, A Mother, a Child, and the Shadow History of Adoption. It's the history of the adoption at the Lewis Wise Agency, told through the eyes of a man's search for his mother and his mother's search for the child she gave up. It's an incredible written history of the adoption business, as well as a touching personal story. I will now turn the program over to Neil Weizenkorn, who will introduce our author, Danny Adeno Abebe. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Welcome to our second Meet the Author event of January. Today's book, From Africa to Zion by Danny Adeno Abebe, tells the second part of the story that we learned about 2 weeks ago in Red Sea Spies by Rafi Berg, who was on this call. The true story of how Mossad transported thousands of Ethiopian Jews from Sudan to Israel in the 1970s and 1980s. Today's book takes the story to the next step. In Red Sea Spies, in the chapter written by Daniel L., the founder and first commander of Operation Brothers, part of the Mossad, is the following, which serves as our bridge from the book 2 weeks ago to today's book. And I quote, "In Israel today, life is not easy for anybody, but the Israelis of Ethiopian origin face more difficulties than most because as a society, we are still far from reaching the degree of solidarity, mutual respect, and comprehension that we should if we uphold the values of Judaism." This bridge posed many questions that From Africa to Zion answered, but also opened our eyes and minds to the emigration process and the hurdles that the emigrants had to overcome. We now meet the author, Danny Adeno Abebe. Danny emigrated to Israel at the age of 8, educated and integrated into Israeli society and culture. This integration was not easy, despite many issues. He served in the IDF Army radio and then became a popular national journalist, the first Ethiopian to do this. Danny is now the spokesperson for the Israeli Ministry of Aliyah and Integration. In this role, he maintains a close connection with the national media, the various local media throughout the country, local and national radio stations, television stations, and Israeli websites in all languages, and updates them about current and special activities of the Ministry of Aliyah and Integration, and provides responses on issues upon which the ministry is requested to do so. This is Danny's story. And now let's meet the author, Danny Adeno Abebe.
Wow. Shalom, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. It's a really great opportunity for me to tell you a little bit my personal history, definitely about my community history. This is great, really great. I'm excited. Well, Neil, thank you so much. Toda rabba. Well, yeah, I was born as Adino. That is my Jewish agency name. Unfortunately, when we arrived in 1984, the Jewish agency decided to change my name from Adino to Danny. Why Danny? I don't know. Probably I look like Danny. It's a very Hollywood American name. But I received this name. I don't know if you know, a lot of Ethiopian young community like me. I would like to say I'm really young, but I don't remember when I was born. I have very specific date for me, very specific for me and for my young generation who made Aliyah from Ethiopia in 1984, 1985, something like that. I was born 1973. It means my birth is every day, include now. Suzanne, if you have a cake, I would be happy to. Yeah, I don't have birthday. It was because how come a young man like me and very beautiful and didn't have birthday, and I asked my father and my mom, how come you don't remember my birthday? My parents gave me 2-3 options when I was born. And so it's generally Ethiopian youngest problem in Israel. We don't have birthday. We have 0000 Well, I was born very small village, Jewish village. No running water, no electricity. I'm like when I was born like biblical time. It's like I was the first person who met Abraham face to face. I mean, the gap between us in an Israeli society life now, at least 100 years. At least 100 years. And when I was a young man, I was shepherd boy. I had very specific job. Every day I took my cows, my sheep, and we don't have a lot. We were very poor family, but I knew always I'm a Jewish. And my father, every day, I remember my son, he was standing next to you, B'Shana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim, every day. And I don't want to go so far how Ethiopian Jewish community arrived in Ethiopia, but limit a little bit our life, very simple life in Ethiopia, and until 1984, 1983, by the way. And we knew that time we are Jewish, and we kept Shabbat and almost all Jewish holidays, and we didn't keep halacha Jewish in Ethiopia. And we took a Bible book. We kept all mitzvot of the Jewish mitzvot from Bible, directly from Bible. And well, we had rabbis, so called them Kesi. This is a very spiritual leader of Ethiopian community. And after always from 1948 until 1970 something, all Israeli government, specifically Labor Party government in Israel, didn't recognize us as a Jews. Never. Ben Gurion, Levi Eshkol, Golda Meir, other Israeli former prime ministers didn't recognize us as a Jews. Even now, after 4 decades, right? Very strongly, Ashkenazi rabbi don't recognize us as Jews. Even now. But in 1974, 73, by the way, one of them most popular and very important rabbi in Israel, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who made Aliyah from Baghdad to Israel. He was chief rabbi of Sfaradim, decided to recognize us as a Jews. And it was really for us one of the very important things as a Jewish in exile in Africa, because when we didn't talk when I was when we were in village, we didn't talk about state of Israel. We didn't know. We didn't know the state of Israel established by Ben Gurion, and we talked always one word when I was a young. Jerusalem. One day we'll get to Jerusalem. We didn't, never, I didn't say, I remember my father, he didn't say never state of Israel. Always he said, B'shana haba'a b'Yerushalayim. It was our dream. And I was born as dream. My childhood was, we didn't have anything because we was waiting to go. We have to go. Next 2 days, we're going to Jerusalem. It was 2,000 years. It was our life. We had very simple life. As a Jews, we were really poor family because we were waiting to go to Jerusalem one day. Even, but in 1977 in Israel, you know what happened exactly? Mr. Begin, he became to be an Israeli prime minister. He was the first prime minister from Likud party, and he decided to bring us to Israel as a Jews. And I remember 1983, it was May, in 2-3 people came to our village to say a big secret for our local leaders. And we didn't know. I made the first person, the white person. It was when I was 8 years old in Sudan. And I thought he was sick. He has a problem, probably, because I was shocked. I didn't know the white people exist in this world. So, because I was thinking that old people around were blacks, like me, all definitely Jewish people. I was really shocked because when I was in my village, we couldn't see any white person. It was so far from any civilization, And that time in 1983 came to our village 2-3 people, Ethiopian local people, to say huge, one of the very big, important message for our parents. And that time, my dad, he started to sell whatever we had, except 2 things. He didn't sell our horses and donkeys. And I remember my big brother, he had a very long conversation with my father. He asking why you decided to sell everything, cows, sheep, and goats, whatever we had. And he didn't tell him nothing. He said, because we have a problem. We need money. It was 1983. And that time, like most of Ethiopian Jewish young boy, I didn't go to school. I mean, as I said, I had very specific job to be shepherd boy. Now I don't have a job. I need a job. What can I do? We had 2 horses and 1 donkey. This is a full job. And one day it was Rosh Hashanah evening. It was Friday night. My father woke up us, my brothers and I. We get off from our village. We saw at least 700 something people ready to go. We didn't know to where. Even for my father, he didn't have any idea to where. But those people, if I remember, who came to our village, tell us any history, and probably those people told him, but he said, "Don't worry. One day we'll get to Jerusalem." And that time we start our journey without to know to where. It was a long journey. And, we walked from our village to Sudan border without shoes, as a barefoot, and without a lot of fruits. We didn't know how the distance between our village to Sudan, because few people, the Mossad agents, the local agent people told us, we'll get to Sudan borders at least 2 weeks. But those people didn't know we had kids, babies, and family. We were 700 people. One day, it was Friday night. It's very specific for us. It was very important. Why Friday night? For us, Friday night, it was one of them very important day during a week. And that time we left everything behind us. We start a long journey. And this journey was really hard. We walked at least month and a half, 800K, include all of us. I mean, my father, my mom, my brothers, and my full family, and for Ethiopian people, kids is employees, and we need kids. And we had 4 kids, and that time called us Ashkenazi family, because we don't have a lot of kids. Anyway, after a month, we arrived at Sudan border, and Mossad agent told us the reason why we decided to come Sudan. And I mean, all of us, 700 people, were same reason why I decided to come to Sudan. And we arrived to Sudan. I mean, we didn't lost people on the way. We were really lucky people. And we know a lot of Ethiopian people lost a lot of people on the way, a lot, specifically babies. And we arrived in Sudan, 1983, and we got the refugee camp. That time, the Mossad agent who was local in Sudan told us we're going to be here at least months, 2 months, no more. We stayed there a year and a half, almost a year and a half, a year and 2 months. Between 1979 until 1984, 21,000 Ethiopian Jews arrived in Sudan. 4,000 of them died in Sudan. 4,000 of them include a lot of from my family. We lost it family, but never, I couldn't hear, I mean, we had a lot of discussion with my father when we were in Sudan. Never, he didn't give up. He didn't say, no, we will be there one day, don't worry. And that time, by the way, I met face to face a white man. I was really shocked. It was Sudan Mossad agent. His name Danny Limo. He's a friend of mine now, but that time he was a doctor. No, he didn't. I mean, he wasn't doctor, but you know, he got his job and he was a doctor. And Sudan, for us, for my family, was one of them unacceptable journey. And after a year and 2 months in Sudan, in refugee camp, the Sudanian government gave us every day same food every day. And we didn't give up a lot. But one of them, the most important thing we couldn't receive was water. Many of us, who died in Sudan because many of them died by malaria and very simple disease in this world, but Mossad agent gave us a lot of money, but those people didn't give us for anything to help us with different local disease. And one day, I remember that night we went to sleep. We had a white tent, and we were at least 6 people in very small white tent. And one day, it was Saturday night, and my father, he woke up us, say, okay, we have a one more journey to Jerusalem. And someone pick up us by truck to somewhere in Sudan, and we get there, Israeli airplane, and took us. We didn't know. It was my first flight ever, never. And most of us, we didn't know were on the flight. And in the end, after, I don't know, 4, 3, 5 hours, we arrived in Israel, and we couldn't believe. And we saw a lot of Israeli soldiers, and those people took us to observation center, so-called in Arad, south of Israel. And we just, that time we realized we are here in Israel. We met a lot of white people here and welcome, but we didn't know nothing. We were shocked. We didn't know how to use what's mean. We didn't see never what's mean building, very high building. We didn't know how to use by gas. We didn't know how to use by fridge. We didn't know how to use anything. We were like, hello, welcome. What's next? We didn't know how to I mean, the Musa and then the Jewish agency people gave us a lot of clothes. We didn't know how to, what's the difference between women and men clothes. For us, it was same. We didn't know what's next. And if you remember, our dream was to get to Jerusalem. But in the end, we arrived in Arad after Beersheba. And it was really shocked for us. And for me, for youngest, it was a little bit easy. After a month and a half, we realized which kind of life, new life, we get this new life. And one day, Jewish agency people came to our observation center, decided to change our name. Now, Dino is not Israeli name. You have to change your name. And I got Danny. It's very Hollywood American name. And most of us, include those people, decided to change the name of my father as my mom. And they gave us dates of birthday, no date, by the way. And after a year and a half, at least a year, and Jewish angels decided to send me and my brother to yeshiva. Yeah, I was a yeshiva student. You can see, right? And very, very Ashkenazi yeshiva. And well, I can understand them because my parents didn't know how to write and read even their mother language in Amharic. Didn't know, even now, after 4 decades. Well, it's 1984 Operation Moses, it was one of the incredible journey of Ethiopian community. Between 1983 and 1986, at least 1986, came to Israel 17,000 of Ethiopian Jews. And after 1984, as you know, Operation Solomon, 1991, it was one of them very famous operation. But, well, after I was in yeshiva with my brother and my father, my mom, with my two youngest brothers, continued to stay in observation center in Arad. After 2 years, my family removed from Arad to Jerusalem. And after 2 years, my father has opportunity to see face-to-face Jerusalem. It's a long journey, by the way. And yeah, and my family now living in Jerusalem. And well, we were shocked that for Israeli society, 1984, it's not like Operation Moses, 1991, that time Israeli society didn't know anything about us as Ethiopian Jews. Even most of them were very shocked. How come, what's mean Jewish people? The Jewish people must be white people or colors like Yemenian Jews. Black Jews? What's going on? It was really shocked for them. And very, very quickly, a lot of people start to ignore us because our color. as you know, most of the very important rabbis from Ashkenazim side didn't and don't recognize us even now. And for me, from my father, and from my community, one of them very complicated situation that how come rabbis don't recognize us as Jews? Why? We kept everything. And Rabbi Ovadia Yosef checked everything that time, 1984. In the end, we continue to, which our life, but I have to say something. Israel gave me a lot of opportunity. Now, in the perspective of 4 decades, I can say State of Israel gave me a lot of opportunity to be who I am now. 100%. I'm really appreciative. I would love to show you when I was born to see what's mean. I was born here. It was my life. This is my area. On the left side, you can see a very nice villa. It was my home. And it's, you can see, okay, wait. 3 years ago, I decided I have 4 kids. I didn't tell you. I have 4 kids. 4 of them were born in Israel. Very full Israel. They don't have exile accent. Their accent very Israeli. But for most of Israeli society, my kids, they are still Ethiopian. And I don't know, I wanted to show them for my kids when I was born, my real life. And I would love to show you. It's very beautiful, right? Okay.
גם הפתיע אותי שאנחנו טסים לפה.
Those people were our neighbor in my village.
הפתעת שאמא הייתה יחפה לך שהייתה...
It was my house. I grew up here. Yeah. Sorry. Mistake. Okay, you heard me? Yeah, it was my village. I want to show you my real life. The gap Yeah. I mean, when I said Israel, State of Israel gave me and gave a lot of for my community great opportunity because you know you could you couldn't see, you can't see how really far was our gap, and we minimized at least 100 years during I don't know 20 35 years, and I'm so glad to be here. And now as I said, I have 4 kids and I live in Jerusalem. I'm a journalist, and a year ago I decided to be a spokesperson of Aliyah and Integration Ministry. I'm so glad. And a few years ago, I decided to write this book because I felt we were really busy to be part of Israeli society. We have very unique history, and very unique journey to Israel. And I mean, most of Israeli Ethiopian people, we didn't come to Israel with books, and I felt so bad because my kids, they're asking me a lot of questions about my journey, my life in Ethiopia, and what American Jews, Israeli Jews in Israel, how come those people don't have any idea about our background, our history? And I remember, when I decided to write this book, it was really easy. It was here. Said, wow, it's my story, my life, and my journey. And I said, who cares about my story? Hello? Many in Israel is very, exactly Yemeni Jewish from Iranian, then, it's American Jewish. Every community who made Aliyah said, I was the first people who had long journey to Israel, something like that. What's special from our history? And another thing is, I said, okay, Israeli society don't care about us. I have to say, I was really surprised because, a lot of Israeli community decided to buy this book. And wow. I'm feeling those people have been waiting for this book many years. And I'm trying to encourage my people to write more books because we don't have time. We have to tell our history. This is really history. This is a real journey. Our Exodus is like, I'm really, every Passover night, my father make any equalization between our journey and what happened when Moses decided to exodus us from Egypt. It's the same story. And I believe my position now, your position, everyone, to tell everyone about our history, because I don't think, I want to show you. This is book. From Africa to Zion is my history, but it's history of any Jewish community, any Jewish people around the world. Well, I can continue. Suzanne, what do you say?
All right, Danny, very enlightening, very well said. We have a number of questions that we've gotten from our committee members and those that have read the book. We also have some questions sitting in there in the chat, which we'll get to. You mentioned about the Exodus and the similarity between your journey and the Exodus from Egypt in the same food you got in the refugee camp, which to me immediately came to mind, the manna, and the water issues, which, you know, the Israelites got going through the desert. In this week's Torah portion, the Exodus from Egypt was described as God saying, "Ve'eseh echem al kanfei nisharim," how I bore you on eagle's wings. What were you thinking when you got onto this massive plane, this Hercules transport? As an 8-year-old boy who had never flown before, probably you did see the planes flying overhead, I would think.
Bears.
But what was going through your mind? I mean, it was like Jonah going into the belly of the whale.
Well, you know, you can imagine what it means, a shepherd boy, to live very, very small village without, you know, running water, electricity, no school, everything. For me, for my father, it's very important to talk about him. It's very, for them it was like our Kessi, our Ethiopian rabbi, most of them were for us like Moses. When we start our journey, our rabbi told us, Ethiopia is not really far from Egypt. We're going to start a new journey like Bnei Israel. Let's do it. We have to be, for them, if you remember, for them it took 40-something years, and for us it was very quickly, right? It was a month and a half. We were really quick and we ran very, very fast. And anyway, I mean, I don't know why we couldn't imagine one day we'll get to Israel by Israeli Air France. It was for us, I mean, as I told you, we didn't go to school. We didn't know anything about state of Israel. We didn't read a newspaper, something like that. We didn't listen to radio, something. I mean, we had very simple life, like, I don't know, Bnei Israel in Egypt, same history. And in the end, even I remember myself when I met a white man in Sudan, I tried to touch him because I didn't know what happened with him. How come he crashed himself? What happened? Because I didn't know, I don't know, this world, most of, I don't know, millions white people, I didn't talk about that time about Jewish people. But even after we arrived in Israel, we made Aliyah. I don't think so. By the way, I can't say we made Aliyah. We had a journey to Israel. We didn't go like, you know, some American Jewish or a Russian, something like that, made Aliyah by flight. We were the most community. The first community, by the way, had journey, a long journey. We walked 800 kilometers by barefoot to get to Jerusalem. We had a dream. It was our dream to get to Jerusalem. And what happened after we arrived is not a history. We didn't know nothing about Israeli society because, I mean, now, you know, before we make Aliyah, we prefer him. He knows everything. We didn't know anything about Israeli society. As I said, we didn't talk about state of Israel. we talked about Jerusalem.
Mhm.
And which kind of Jerusalem we made, you know exactly. It's a little bit, we made very complicated city.
But
And
as a child, though, getting into this massive airframe, what was in your mind relative to this strange environment and taking off and landing and flying around? Did
It
you
was my
have any
first-
kind of fear of it, or?
no. I mean, that time this is my third. When we flew from Sudan to Israel, we didn't have opportunity to see face to face anyone. Just those people put us in and closed the door behind us. Anything. It was no one asked us if I want to drink something, if you want a couple of tea. No. We arrived after 4 or 5 hours. We arrived in Eilat. Nothing. I mean, because this operation, if you know exactly, did by Israeli Air Force. I mean, we didn't talk with soldiers or something like that. And yeah, I mean, we didn't know even we were on flight. We didn't know we were on Air France. Something we didn't know nothing. We were shocked. I mean, those people, the Mossad agents said us sit down. We did it. And those people told us don't talk. We didn't talk. 4 hours. I mean, because we didn't know anything, and only after we arrived, someone yeah, exactly, someone at 800 kilometers is almost 500 miles. Yeah, it's 500 miles. And thanks. And anyway, I mean, after we arrived, someone, a Maverick speaker, and came to, it told us, welcome to Israel. We couldn't believe him.
Mhm.
We couldn't believe him because we said, okay, we didn't finish our journey. We have to walk to Jerusalem. What's it mean? My father, I remember my father that time, he told us as a family, don't talk with him. It's Ethiopian guys. It's not Jewish. He has something on his bed. It was kippah. We didn't know what's in kippah. He had a titiot. It was for us. What's mean titiot? And my father, he told us, don't ask him any question. We are not in Israel. We have to continue our journey. We didn't finish our goal. Yeah, I mean, it was really shocked. I mean, yeah. Okay, any question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there have been a few questions posed relative to the refugee camps in Sudan and the Mossad, and if there was anything that could have been done to improve the conditions in the camps, and also what could they have done differently to cut down on the number of lives lost during the migration, and if there were any other organizations that were used or could have been used in support of everybody that came into the country.
Well, one of it's a very important point. Thanks. And I have to say, it's a great opportunity. I think so. I told you before by phone. American Jews, without American Jews, we didn't make Aliyah 100%, because that time 1984, even before, American Jewish community, American Jewish leaders helped a lot with American government in during Operation Moses. Yes, when we arrived into refugee camp, we met 1,000 Ethiopian non-Jewish refugee people, 1,000. But Mossad people that time, they knew exactly which tent it was a Jewish tent. And because one of the reason the Mossad people told us before we arrived in the Sudan border, the reason why we decided to remove from our village to Sudan, it was code between us and Mossad agents that time, and 1,000, we got a lot of money from different organizations, most of them from American Jewish community, by Mossad agents, it's local Mossad agents. This is a very important point to, most of them, Mossad agents were local people. And most of them were Ethiopian Jews who decided to work with Mossad, and those people knew exactly which one of the Jewish family. Every 2 weeks, we got money Sudanian money from someone. This money came from America, from here probably, I don't know exactly, but yeah, and we lived among a lot of thousands. It was one of them huge refugee camp, and one of the most difficult time was because we couldn't make any Jewish ceremony, anything. It was, for my father, it was one of them very important and hard thing for him, because he couldn't keep Shabbat. Because the Mossad, they just say, no, you can't keep Shabbat. We have to work last anyone. We have to go out, I don't know. We couldn't, it was for me, even I remember it was our first time in Yom Kippur in refugee camp. And someone from Mossad agent came to our tent, it was local, said, don't fast today. It's not time for fast. Today's Yom Kippur, we know. No.
So they were trying to protect you.
Yeah, my father, I didn't see my father when he cried. He didn't cry. It was my first time I saw me cry. I said, no, I can't. I can't. I can't. I have to fast. I did it many years. It's my tradition. It's my Judaism.
Mhm.
And it was even Yom Kippur. It was our first Yom Kippur in a refugee camp, and we lost 4,000 people in a refugee camp. We didn't say Kaddish for that.
Mhm.
There was a question in the chat that why did so many people die in the
Oh,
Sudan?
it was, the condition was really bad, and most of them died by malaria disease. Most of them, 95% of them.
Mhm.
And we lost a lot of people who, I don't know, someone went to work to find a job, he didn't come back. I mean, it wasn't, we didn't work, it was refugee camp, as you know. This is really, it was very bad area. And a lot of local people get any information, we were Jewish. and we got money. And because the Mossad people corrupt many Sudanian policemen, soldiers, whatever. And it was one of them. I mean, my family, my second cousin, we lost him there because someone said he was Jewish, he has the money, something like that. We didn't know what happened with him.
Oh,
And most Ethiopian people, we talked about 4,000 people died by disease, very simple disease for us as Israeli now, as American. But that time it's really hard to get anything. It was, yeah, unfortunate.
okay. Thank you.
There was a number of questions about racism in Israel that you faced when you got to the country.
Yeah,
And one of the comments was that considering that the Jews that came to Israel, that settled there, faced racism and anti-Semitism in Europe and in other parts of the world, and came to a country where they were accepted and everything was good, that they would be part of a racist society. It was a little surprising to some of our readers. Can you address that issue and relative to how you felt about this kind of racism of your own people because of your religion, even you with the same religion and their background?
well, as you know, in Israel society, the fighting between Ashkenazim and Sephardim is not really new for you, right?
Mhm.
In many years. We know a lot of Ashkenazim community came from Arab country. And after that, we talked about the Jewish people came from Yemen, Iran, Iraq, and Morocco, something like that. And most of them, specifically the Jewish people came from Arab world, said the Ashkenazi people don't like us because our color, because we don't look like them, right? And our skin color as Ethiopian, I'm black, I'm a Jewish, I'm Israeli. I have three main problems world. And I'm so proud to be Israeli, the black and the Jews. And as you know, one of the main problem of Ethiopian Jews in Israel, when we arrived, when we met Aliyah recently, I mean, in 1983, 84, most of the Ashkenazim rabbi didn't recognize us. For them, we weren't Jewish people, 100%. 100%. And very quickly, the first time we were really nice people, Israeli society talked about us, wow, welcome to Israel. And very quickly said, okay, I don't know if you know the word, one of the ignore words, Kushi. It's nigger. As I said, I have 4 kids. 4 of them were born in Israel, very Israeli. I'm Israeli, you know, I'm very Zionist. I have a dream to grow up my kids in Israel without racism. As a Jewish, Said, okay, how come? Who suffered by anti-Semitism in Europe, in America, in everywhere? And how come you can be racist against other people because this skin color? Yeah, don't be surprised, because Israeli society is like any society in the world. We are here, and definitely I can't say all of them. Definitely no way.
Thank you.
I'm here because a lot of people tried to help me. Those people were Israeli. My officer in the army were Israeli, but those people pushed me to be who I am now.
Okay, very
It's
good.
very bad to say all of them. Definitely, even no majority of the Israel. No way. But racism about our skin color is one of the most problem Israel in my community, definitely. But you know why? Like I said, for my community, our position is to tell them our history, our background. To be educated is our correct answer for racism. To respect our past, our background, continue to be. I'm so glad, my family. I'm very involved what's going on in Israel society. I'm continuing to write a lot of article about Israel society, include our Israeli politics. This should be our answer, to be there. And now, after 4 decades, you can see a lot of Ethiopian youngest who made Aliyah when most of them were young. And you can see as a doctor, as officer in Israeli army, as a minister, I couldn't believe. And the judges, we got 3 judges. Do you remember? We came to Israel 4 decades ago from other world. We got it. We got it. This is one of them, the most, it's really important position. My generation position to continue to explain our background, our life.
Right. Danny, the Rafi Berg, the author of Red Sea Spies, is on with us. And
Oh, okay. Hello.
Rafi, unmute yourself and
Rafi,
say
are you
hello
here?
if you want.
Pretty left.
Hello, hi, Danny. Really
How are you? I can't see
fabulous,
you. Okay.
fabulous talk. I'm sure everybody feels the same. Really, everything you said was just incredibly interesting.
Thank you.
I had a question, if I can ask it to you. I'm just trying to find it. So, what form of Judaism do you follow now in Israel? And also, what were relations like between Jews and non-Jews in Ethiopia when you were a child?
Good question. Rafi, toda raba. Thank you. Well, we had very great relationship with our neighbors, Christian and Muslim. And for them, we were falasha. You know what falasha means? Yeah, no land people. For them, we were very temporary people in Ethiopia. It means falasha. But in the end, we had great relationship. But when we left our village, we didn't tell them. One day, we left everything behind us to somewhere, Athena. And yeah, we had the best friend of my father were non-Jewish people. Those people respect us as a Jewish, as a falasha. By the way, didn't call us Jewish. We were falasha people. temporary people. So it's good name. And we couldn't receive a land in Ethiopia because we were very temporary people in Ethiopia. Those people, the Christian people, were telling to us, we couldn't believe Jewish people because tomorrow going to leave us. It's not like any anti-Semitism, Rafi, is the same. But our relationship was, if Haile Selassie, the emperor of Ethiopia, he called himself, he came from one of the very important tribe of Jewish tribe. He came from Judah. And he said, he believed he came from the Judah tribe. And in the history, exactly what happened between Queen Solomon and Queen of Sheba. And we don't have any problem. I couldn't say we suffered by anti-Semitism because we were Jewish. No way. We had great, but the government didn't give us anything because, say it's very complicated to give a land for Jewish people because we don't believe them. And unfortunately, as my father, we don't have any connection with our Christian neighbors. But definitely we had great relationship. But they are racism. They were racism, 100%. Even now, most of Ethiopian Orthodox Christian people believe we are, as a Jewish, control, exactly, all anti-Semitism.
Just very quickly,
Anyway.
what form of Judaism do you yourself follow? Have you adopted Ashkenazi or Sephardi or?
No, I don't think so. I can't. I'm not Ashkenazi, as you know, right? I don't know. No, we have our own Judaism. We kept our different way from Ashkenazim and Sephardi. We have a Kesim, the spiritual leader of Ethiopian community, our rabbi. But from my next generation, my kids, I can't see them. It's really complicated to see them next, 20 years, going to be like me. We are, I believe, because one of them, rabbi, he passed away a few years ago, recognized as a Jew, he was Sephardi man, Sephardi rabbi. Most of Ethiopian people in Israel were closer to Sephardi community. I'm sorry about Ashkenazim, guys, okay? Okay, but
That's
but
okay.
you got a lot of Haredim, Ethiopian Haredim, I don't know if you know. In Israel. But I believe my next generation, my kids' generation will be like a Sephardi community. Most Ethiopian people continue almost 4 decades, continue to vote for Likud party. It's not because Netanyahu was good or something bad or Shamir, because our rabbi told us, you must remember what Begin did for us. He was the first man decided to bring us because we were Jewish. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rafi. Danny,
Andy,
question for you. In your current position,
Rafi, I answer to you. You got to answer.
in your current position, what has been the most effective and successful interventions that the government and charities initiated to integrate the Ethiopian community? What have been the main failures, and what changes are you advocating for in your current position?
Well, like I said, education. I mean, we don't have opportunity. We know I can't change my skin color, as you know, right? It's too late. But our answer should be to be involved into Israeli society by education. I mean, I believe educated man is no skin color man. I mean, you know why now is this little bit, this is nice moment for Ethiopian community in Israel. It's really great moment. After decades, most of Ethiopian youngest fighting against racism, against the police department in Israel. And now, in the end, we realize very well our answer should be by involving Israeli politics in Israeli anywhere. And you couldn't believe after almost 4 decades, you can see a minister of Aliyah. She's still Ethiopian young woman. She made Aliyah in 1984 by Operation Moses. You couldn't imagine one of them very important person in Israeli army as officer is Ethiopian young man who made Aliyah 1991. You can see all Israeli hospitals include my wife, nurses, doctors, and it is very successful Aliyah. In the end, I mean, you have to remember our past, our background. And I believe we have to continue. You know what? One of them, we made a lot of mistakes as a new immigrant. First of all, we didn't have time to talk about ourselves because that most of Israeli people didn't have any idea about us. It was a big mistake. And when I decided to write this book, because I wanted to tell you, to Israeli society, hello, everyone, we have a history. We have a history, huge history. We have a very important background. We didn't come to Israel as a refugee. We didn't come to Israel because we wanted to find a job. We came to Israel because we believed we were here 2,000 years ago.
Mhm.
It was our home. Yeah, I believe. I was here 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. Would you characterize the life of the Ethiopian Jews that came to Israel as being successfully assimilated into current society while still maintaining your own sense of identity?
Sure, 100%. Of course, 100%. I have to tell you something. Now, you know, for most of our community who made Aliyah from Morocco, from from many countries, you can't see. Most of them live in Israel almost 7 decades. It's a long time. Those people, by the way, many years ago, decided to I mean, for Ashkenazi people, they call them Black people, specifically Yemen and Jews. And if you know how really in Israeli process, Aliyah process, very successful, and those people who were Black people many years ago, now those people call me Black people. Baruch Hashem. I mean, it is very Israeli patent. I mean, any Aliyah, I mean, we as Ethiopian, we have been waiting for someone to call him Black man. I don't know. But in the end, we really, this is very, you have to come to visit us to see what's mean, how we decide. I mean, it's very successful community. Yes, we have a lot of problems. It's not secret. We have a problem. We have to continue our journey to feel in Israeli, part of Israeli society. It's not really perfect, definitely not. But my generation, definitely my kids' generation, will be like anyone in Israel, but it must be we have to continue to work very hard, and like we work until now, and definitely I believe our future in Israel will be great. And now, after 4 decades, it's a great opportunity to continue to tell our history, our background, and definitely to give opportunity for our parents. Wow, it's really, real dream. And the end, we'll get to Jerusalem.
That's a great, inspiring story. I do have one more question, and it's different topic though. In your book, you mentioned that arranged marriages, the families examined going back for 7 generations.
Yeah,
To see
my
if there's
wife.
any- And in your case, I believe they got back to 5 generations.
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, I made mistake. Yeah.
So
Five
what's the
generations.
origin of that? What's the
Well,
where does that come from?
It's a great question. And now by the way, we continue in Israel. It's one of
Yeah?
them. Yeah, definitely one of them. Huge, complicated between Ethiopian culture, tradition. Now the situation between us and between our parents is, well, it came from because our rabbis wanted to keep us, because if you remember, we were a very small community in Ethiopia, right? And the rabbis taught, the rabbi said it was Ethiopian local halacha. Okay, why I don't have any idea, but I remember myself one day after I met my beautiful wife, and I said for my father, yes, I get very beautiful girl. I would like to marry with her. Said okay, and time here, your mom and his father. I told him, he said, no, you can't. I said, why? He said, you can't. We are 5 generations. You have to get 7 generations. And the end, by the way, yes. I mean, it just was it was really hard for them because in Israel, when I met my wife, I didn't know about her anything. I didn't know about her father or her mom. I met her somewhere like everyone. And in Ethiopia, it was it's very different generation. And our rabbi they are trying to continue. It's not easy, but 7 generations, this is a long history between, we'll see, probably next 25 years, we'll get to 3 generations. Who knows? For now, I'm so glad, by the way. But you can see in Ethiopian community a difference disease. like autism, something like that. It's really hard to see.
Mhm.
One of them, one of them reason I can't say all of them. It was because our rabbi decided to marriage, like 7 generation different. We don't know, but I will tell you. I'll send you article I got 2-3 days ago about why Ethiopian rabbi decided to tell us don't marriage until 7 generation. Who knows?
Very
But,
interesting. Very interesting. Thank you very much, Danny.
but it was really great. With Susan. Susan, are you here?
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Danny. I want to thank everybody for coming, and again, thank our partner synagogues. I think I forgot in the beginning to thank the Women's League for Conservative Judaism, which is a supporting group to this program, and all our partner synagogues, our members of our congregation. Our rabbi couldn't be here today, but he is very supportive of our program.
Next time.
Our chairperson, Allison Block, who is just unmuted, so if she would like to say a word in parting, we will end there.
Danny, thank you so much. I love the book. I've now read through it twice, and reading it the second time, I got even more out of it than the first time. Your story is amazing, and I think for those of you who are here in the audience today and who have not read it, by all means, go out and buy the book From Africa to Zion. It will give even greater meaning to the words that you've heard today from Danny. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I hope to see you soon in Israel. When you come to Israel, please visit us.
Next year in Jerusalem, God willing.
And
Let's see
Mahabaya
Jerusalem. After
Jerusalem.
Corona in Jerusalem.
Yes, thank you, Danny.
Hello.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shalom.